Hey guys, welcome to She Knows Arsenal. Long time no see. Make sure you guys like and subscribe if you guys still like the channel. No, I'm joking. Yeah, but long time no see. I know that a lot of you guys have gotten in contact with me to make sure I was still alive and that, I would come back on She Knows Arsenal at some point. I have to be honest, after 2 years of, doing She Knows Arsenal, almost 2 years, I did feel a little bit overwhelmed and a little bit burned out. So I took a little bit of a hiatus, a little bit of a break just to recharge and realign like where I want the channel to go, because I started to get into this thing was like, what kind of channel do I want this to be? Can I upgrade? Like, what can I do to make it better? And so that's where I've been, just kind of taking a little bit of a break. Sometimes you need one. And yeah, in the midst of all that, I did go to the FCA Awards and I was nominated for the Best New Content Creator Award and I won. And I just want to thank you guys for all of your support, likes, shares, subscribes, your votes, all that kind of stuff, because I never would have thought She Knows Arsenal would have became anything that could have won an award, so I just want to thank you guys for that. I'm very appreciative and very humble that you guys, think of me for awards like this. So thank you so much. On this really quick kind of update, I want to let you guys know just kind of what I've been doing over the last couple of days and what to look forward to content wise, and a little bit of transfer talk. I know it's World Cup time, but the January transfer window will be here before we know it. And I want to give you guys some of my thoughts on some of the players that we have been linked to. So yeah, make sure you guys, like I said, like and subscribe. So I'm in Qatar right now, and so I'll be doing some work with Goal for the World Cup, obviously. So I'll be going to as many games as possible, doing a live show, daily show for them, so you guys can see me on there. But you guys will see on my Instagram and my TikTok, mini vlogs and things about like what's gonna happen in Qatar while I'm here. And then I'll be putting out longer form vlogs on another channel. So I will put the link to that channel in the description box so you guys can subscribe there, but it'll be more of a channel where I can show you guys the work that I'm doing outside of She Knows Arsenal, if you guys are interested in that. And the first series on that channel is going to be around how it's been in Qatar for the World Cup. So look out for that. In terms of She Knows Arsenal, I'm going to try to upload something short, pre-recorded daily, just to make sure that I'm keeping in touch with you guys. I'm going to try to get to one of the games in Dubai if I can, because we all know that even though the World Cup is going on and it's amazing, we were on a roll, and so we still have Arsenal top of the brain, so I do want to potentially be able to get out there to watch Arsenal play one of the games in the Dubai Cup. I'm not sure which one I'd be able to get out to see, but I'm going to try to do that. But I want to record something pre-recorded daily, so we can still kind of chit chat about Arsenal. So that's what you can look forward to. But let's get into transfers and just kind of thoughts on Arsenal right now. I don't know how you guys feel, but I think that this break may have come at a good time. I know some people feel like the break may have came at a bad time because we're on a roll and it's going to disrupt us. I do think that there is some value in our players going away to the World Cup and potentially doing well in those tournaments and in that tournament and coming back, with that vibe. I think we all understand that players live to play for their national teams, and so the ones that have gone, even though we're worried about injuries and burnout and things like that, I think mentally it'll be good for them to go away and be a part of their national team's experience in this tournament. In particular, somebody like Martinelli, I think that this experience will be invaluable for him. Whether or not he gets a lot of playing time or not, it'll be invaluable for him. I expect Saka to have a big part to play in England in England's journey throughout this tournament. And then you have players like Thomas Partey, that's like a big part of the Ghana national team. You have Tomiyasu, who starts for Japan. And so we'll see how many minutes these players get. But for me, I'm not necessarily too worried about burnout and stuff like that. I want them to have a good experience in Qatar and come back refreshed and energized for the rest of the campaign for Arsenal. In terms of the players that aren't going, it's just about maintaining fitness and motivation, in this mid-break. It's unprecedented, what's happening in the season. And so we'll see how they come back and how the physios and the trainers and coaches keep these players in tip-top shape, game ready shape, to start the season back the day after Christmas. So I think we'll see, because nobody really knows what they're doing. Some teams are not doing tournaments, some teams are. So we'll just have to see how things shake out. But, I'm feeling good about this break and the timing of it. And, we'll see how the players come back and how it affects our season. In terms of, the January transfer window and all the rumors that have been swirling around about players that we've been linked to, I know that Fabrizio Romano has come out and said that Arsenal's main target for the January transfer window is Mudryk. But it's a hard deal to do and all this kind of stuff. His usual, this is what I think is happening, but I don't want to get, caught up in it because I don't really have that much information. You know what I mean? Wink, wink. So, Mudryk is an interesting one because he did the interview with Zinchenko's wife, and they spoke about Arsenal, and it was very much like, it felt kind of like Anthony doing his interview with Fabrizio Romano, I think it was, during the transfer window, almost trying to force the move. It's different because I don't know if we put in a bid or whatever, but it does feel very much like I'm ready to go and you need to let me go, and where I want to go is Arsenal, and so with Mudryk, I go back and forth because, for the fee that they want, of course they want a bidding war, and they're well within their right to want, teams to come in and pay a big fee for him because he's a really good player. But for the fee, I'm just looking at him and I'm like, I just don't want this to be a Pepe. And what I mean by I don't want this to be a Pepe is it's somebody that is going through a really sparkling period where people are really talking about him. He's being heavily hyped. He's being linked to a lot of teams, and he really doesn't have the long-term track record to really warrant a fee like that, in my opinion. You know what I mean? That's my biggest fear, is that, like Pepe, he'll be going through a season of really good form, and then when he comes to us, maybe he's not as good as we thought he was, but we've spent, a lot on him. The difference between him and Pepe, though, is that he's younger, which is good because Pepe was already in his prime. He needed to hit the ground running. If we were to pay for Mudryk and he wasn't as, far along in his progression, it wouldn't hurt us that bad because he's young. And then there's the aspect of our recruitment is so much better than it was back then. So ideally, we'd know what we were going to do with Mudryk before we got him. And then there's the question around, does he play the same style and all this kind of stuff? He's definitely different than the players that we have right now. The players that we have right now, extremely technical in tight spaces, can play against low blocks, very football IQ forward thinking players. And Mudryk, for me, has really sparkled on the counterattack. And so how does that fit into what Arsenal are doing now? Is he somebody that can step in for a Saka or a Martinelli and fit in seamlessly? Or is the plan to bring in somebody who's a little bit different to offer something else in attack? Because what he does have is an engine and a speed that we just don't have in our team. He is quick. And Saka and Martinelli are fast, but there's fast and then there's rapid, and this guy is rapid with and without the ball, and he has an eye for goal. He's somebody that wants to shoot, And I do think we have players that like to pass, find the pass. There's nothing wrong with that. But we do need shoot on sight type players in our team. So even though I'm not sure that I've seen him play like Arteta ball per se, which we didn't see a lot of our players play that way before they came, by the way. But even though, like, when I watch him play, I think he's a very counterattack, sprinty, rapid type of player, good skills, you know. Even though I think that, and it's not necessarily how we play, I can only think of how beneficial that might be at the end of games when we maybe need to close it out. We've only scored 1 goal and teams are coming at us trying to equalize, and then we can counterattack them, and having somebody like him come on for a Saka or Martinelli in the 70th minute, 60th minute, whatever, could be really beneficial, you know, for a team, because we don't have that profile at all. So is it about bringing in somebody that maintains the continuity, or is it about bringing in players that can offer something different? Mudryk, for me, offers something different, whereas a player that we've been also linked to in Jesper Lindstrom offers continuity. He does have some variance in his game where I think he's more of a, he's more dynamic in a way than some of our players, but he can play the small space, tiki-taka type of vibes. Like Jesper Lindstrom fits straight into what we do already. And so it just depends, but it does feel like there's a lot of noise around the Mudryk link. I'm not sure if it gets done, you know, but Arsenal do need to bring in players in January. And yes, I said players. I would think a midfielder and an attacker would be what we need to sustain the level that we have going into the business end of the season, where things become more, you know, serious. You know, every game starts to really mean something. And we're going to be going into, well, 3 competitions, Europa League and FA Cup and the Premier League, that we want to do well in. So an attacker is definitely something that's needed, and a midfielder, I think, potentially could be needed as well. I think, you know, you have Partey, you have Xhaka, you have Odegaard, those 3 are the starters, and then you have Sambi and Elneny and Vieira. And I think Vieira has something. Is he inconsistent? Yes. But I do think people forget that he only started playing first team football in January when Luis Diaz left for Liverpool. That's when he started to play consistent first team football for Porto. So he's very much so a project player that has come in and has at least offered end product in the minutes that he's had, whether it was in Europa League or in the Premier League. And I think he's fine. He just needs time to develop. Then you look at somebody like Sambi that's, for me, I think is a little bit in the in-between space, where we know he's talented, we know he has something to offer. He's a really good passer of the ball, has a good passing range, and when the game is a little bit slower and he has more space, he can progress the ball with his dribbling as well. The thing with Sambi, though, is now that Elneny's come back into the fold, I'm not really sure that there's a spot for him in the 6 anymore, and that was really where I think that he struggled anyway. But as an 8, where does he live within the 8s that we have in our team? We have Odegaard and we have Xhaka that are the starters, you know, and then you have Vieira. And then when ESR comes back, he could play the 8 position as well. And he really suits the Xhaka role, because the Xhaka role definitely requires you to get into the final third and make third man runs and score goals and get assists. For me, I don't see Sambi as good enough defensively to play the 6, and I also don't see him. I don't see the parts of his game that would make him beneficial in the final third either, especially in and around the box. So where does he fit in? And I had a long debate about this in a group chat not too long ago around why was Sambi brought in. My feeling is that he was brought in to play Thomas Partey's position, to be the backup and the heir apparent to that position. And it's not like a traditional 6. We know Thomas Partey does more than just break up play. He's not just a destroyer. but that role does require defensive responsibility and positional awareness. And those are two things that I think Sambi really lacks. And that's why he hasn't done well in that role. But I think that's why he was brought in, to eventually develop into that player. We haven't seen that development quick enough. And it feels like in preseason, Arsenal made the decision to move him into the 8 role because they had seen something there as well. So we will see what Arsenal truly think of Sambi moving forward. The only reason why he played the 6 this season was because both Thomas Partey and Elneny were out. Arsenal went into the transfer window, dying hours of the transfer window, to bring in a number 6 before, like, when the season started. So we know that that's not where he's supposed to be playing now. But what is his future in the 8 position? What did they see in preseason and in training that personally I have not seen? Has to be something there. But there's also something to the fact that, and there may be like alternative reasons for this, but why was he not on the bench against Wolves? I mean, Vieira got the nod to play in Xhaka's place. Sambi wasn't even on the bench. So we can't even say that he was chosen over Sambi. Sambi didn't even make the bench. Maybe he was ill, maybe he's hurt. I don't know. We haven't heard anything about that. But I'm not sure that I think, like, that I believe that there's a future for Sambi at the 8. That's just me. I could be wrong. I've been wrong in the past. If you guys have been here before, you know I've been wrong. And I'm willing to say I have been. So, yeah. So where does the midfielder come in? There's been a lot of, smoke about Danilo from Palmeiras. That's a future signing for me. It's not something that I feel like has to get done in January. I'm not sure what a 22-year-old from the Brazilian league could do for Arsenal mid-season when we're fighting for a title. I think he's really talented, and he profiles really similarly to Thomas Partey and what he can do on and off the ball. But what can he do for us mid-season? I wonder about what his adaptation period will be like. If we're frustrated by Vieira, will we be frustrated with Danilo if Thomas Partey were to get injured? And Elneny is still here, and I think that his contract ends at the end of this season. So I get why we would want to bring him in, maybe early because of the way that the, Brazilian league season works and all that kind of stuff. But that's not necessarily like the position that I'm looking at. I'm looking at if Granit Xhaka were not to be able to play in a difficult match against, away at Manchester City, away at Newcastle, big grounds, lots of noise, when the pressure is really on, do we trust the likes of Sambi or Vieira to step in if Granit Xhaka were not able to play, if Odegaard were not able to play? It would be nice to have somebody else, that could step into that position and make sure that we have goals coming from midfield, because that's really important as well. And so that's where somebody like a Tielemans would come in. But again, it's mid-season and they're really fighting, to try to get up the table. And so I'm not sure that, even though he's running down his contract and he'll be free in the summer, that he'd be an option mid-season. So the midfield situation is a strange one because I'm not quite sure that we need the 6 right now. And because Elneny is there, and I know that sounds weird because I don't even rate Elneny that highly. Like, I'm not saying he's an amazing option, but he's an option. But do we have enough goals coming from midfield if Granit Xhaka were to go down or Odegaard were to go down? Do we trust Vieira to step into that position in a difficult, against Joe Linton and Bruno Guimaraes and Willock? I'm not sure. So that's where they have to figure something out. But my guess would be that Arsenal will bring in one player and it'll probably be an attacker. I can see a world where we skip midfield because we have Sambi, because we have Elneny, because Vieira is there, and because ESR is coming back. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at with that. But yeah, I mean, the players that we're being linked to are exciting. The fact that it feels like Arsenal are going to make sure that they push is exciting. Being top of the league is amazing. And so it's been nice to just sit here and kind of catch up with you guys around, you know, what's been going on with me, what's going on with the channel, and also what's going on with Arsenal. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this little update and look forward to more of them while I'm out here in Qatar. Make sure you guys are following me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is @I'mJessicaBlack. My TikTok handle is exactly the same, I'm Jessica Black. You guys can follow me there for more bite-sized versions of content. And then if you guys just want to, you know, see these, you guys can do that by coming to this channel and subscribing and all that kind of stuff. And don't forget, I'll be doing more long form vlogs on another channel that will be in the description box. Yeah, so thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.